Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We haven't said Happy New Year yet. I haven't seen you in a full year. You know, you know how people say that.
That actually reminds me, did you see Rihanna's video? And she posted like as soon as it hit 2025, she's like, I haven't drank in a year. And all of these podcasts or like, I don't know, websites were like, Rihanna's been sober for a year. And everyone's like, I don't think that's what she meant.
That's what she meant. She was just being funny. That's really funny how the outlet, like, again, back to whole like media literacy. I think we need more media literacy in the year of 2025. But yeah, hi listeners. Welcome to All That to Say in 2025. I have some major things to I feel like share with Sam because we have not talked s- like since we podcasted like a day
Yeah.
or so after Christmas. So we've got New Year's to catch up on, and we've got like our first podcast of 2025 to discuss. So I will ask you first though, like how your New Year's was and like what you want to share with the group.
So we wanted to do something different this year because we were tired of like going out on New Year's and like his friend
Word.
group, they were like, we're gonna go out. The cover's only $80 and we're gonna get there at 8. And I was just like, I refuse to go downtown Austin at 8 o'clock. Wait until
Yeah.
midnight. We didn't have a table or anything planned. That sounds like the worst night ever. And so we got like caviar from Whole Foods and
Oh,
we got like dirty martinis and like steak and all the fun things. And we just played like Wii and like Monopoly and we watched Gossip Girl.
I
um
saw your stories looked so cute. Like, there's nothing better than staying in on New Year's, and I kind of stand by that. I used to like be of the other mindset, but you guys like had a perfect New Year's. Like,
Oh,
just
it was so fun. And like it was different than anything we've ever done before. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll do it again next year, but we'll see. What about you? Tell everyone about your
woo!
trip.
Your first New Year's as newlyweds. Yeah, I just got back late last night. I think I went to bed at like 2, and that was by the time I like came home from the airport. Like, I'm usually like an unpack the moment I get home, but I did
Mhm.
not because I was so tired. But like I obviously had to shower. So it was like I did all that as quick as I could and was in bed at 2. Like it was a travel day from hell. And that is because I learned how to ski and I did a rookie mistake of leaving my ID in my pants and I fell a lot and my ID is somewhere on a mountain in Colorado. So I had to travel without an ID, which meant
Oh
I got questioned
no.
by Homeland Security. And it
Oh
was
my God.
awful. It was awful. But shout out to the guy in TSA who helped me. He was honestly a king and was like actually so nice. But like, yeah, so if you ever have to travel without an ID, no, it's possible, but like you're gonna have to go to this certain section of the airport. You're going to have to like get questioned by Homeland Security. They're going to have to go through all of your belongings that you didn't check, but are like your carry-on items. They're going to have to like completely pat search you down, swipe all of the things in your it was a lot. But, that's what they got to do to keep us safe. Like I get it, whatever. But
Oh
that
my God.
added my travel time. But in general, my trip was so fun. I learned how to ski. I went for 3 days and I am now confidently going down blues. Like I graduated from greens, the magic carpet, and I'm going down blues.
Fun.
A lot of falls.
Yeah.
My lower back is going to be so sore here probably tomorrow, but
Oh
I
yeah.
can confidently say I freaking love skiing now. Like I get the
Love.
hype.
I
So
love
fun.
it. I used to
Yeah.
snowboard. I had a snowboard.
Snowboarding is so much more badass. Once I can
Yeah.
confidently conquer skiing, snowboarding is going to be next.
Oh
So,
yeah. It was hard
yeah.
doing snowboarding when everyone else was doing skiing because I feel like skiing's so much easier and
That's what they say. It is
quicker.
easier.
And I just remember being like the only one that I was on like the blues or greens. I don't, isn't there like,
It goes green, blue, black.
okay, so I was on blue and Josh was always on black diamond with the skis. And I'm like, I could
Wait, I
never go
didn't
up
know
there.
that. Okay, we need to go
Oh
on a
yeah.
ski trip now. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
yeah. I used to have a pass in Flagstaff. That's what everyone
Of
at
course.
ASU would do is in the winter break, we would all go
The
skiing.
Flagstaff. Oh, how
Yes,
fun.
it's so
Well,
fun.
Yeah, glad we had both little fun New Year's Eves. And I don't know, all of that to say, I've got two pods I'm quite excited to talk about. They really grabbed my attention. And
I
yeah, I
think
want to
we have the
hear.
same podcast.
Do we really? Okay, what are yours?
The first one is Not Gonna Lie with Kylie Kelce.
No.
Oh
Love.
my
Okay, she's
gosh.
making a reappearance. Love
Okay.
Kylie.
It's Kylie on Inventible, Minivan Future, Online Clapbacks, and Body Neutrality with Drew Afualo. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know Drew was on her podcast. Okay,
That's why I
love.
thought you
Excited for that one.
that's why I thought you did it. Oh
No.
yeah, it came up on my
No.
For You page.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been like I said, I've been so offline. Like I'm excited to like get back into it, but I have barely been on my phone. I need to look at what my screen time is. Um
That's
like
good though.
I haven't been on TikTok. I have like
That's such a good thing though.
it was a wonderful like 2 week break for sure. But okay, yeah, what's your next one?
Um, I found this podcast, Date Yourself Instead. I
Mm.
don't know if I've
Nope.
never heard of it before, but apparently the podcaster is TikTok famous.
Okay.
But it's 10 ways to start off your 2025 strong, confident, and ready to take on a new year. I got inspired by the previous episode when you had your resolutions, and I was like, oh, I really need to get serious about that. So that is my pods
Fabulous.
this week.
Okay, cutie. I love it. Mine kind of similar of like a self-help one and then just like a girly swirly one. I'm gonna talk about Giggly Squad this week with Paige DeSorbo and Hannah Berner, giggling
Okay.
about updates, crying and stuff. We all probably saw in the media outlet about Paige and Craig's breakup, and
Mhm.
genuinely it was such a wonderful episode. I love those two. I have been like kind of a follower from afar, and this like I tune into Giggly Squad every once in a while, but it was just one of those, and I'm that way with a lot of my content. Like it takes me a minute to be like I am subscribing and I'm listening every single week.
Mhm.
But this episode kind of helped, and I'm excited to talk about it. My second one is the Prof G Pod with Scott Galloway. No Mercy, No Malice 2025 predictions. And this isn't even a self-help podcast. The podcast in general, his is a self-help one. Like people love Scott Galloway, but this specific episode was like, I don't know, throwing out stats and statistics left and right. So it's going to be a little like it is not
Oh,
girly swirly gossip at all, but it's like very interesting for conversation starters. So
okay.
I'm ready to dive in whenever you
All
are.
right. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, maybe should I do Giggly? Should I take her away?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that on my For You page. I don't follow Giggly Squad. I listen to a few of their podcasts, but same as you, I'm not really that
Have you
involved.
watched Summer House or
No,
Southern
I
Charm?
haven't. I
Yeah, it's
haven't.
literally that is my recap of this podcast is like I have watched like episodes. I've at least watched a couple episodes from every season, but it's just not been consistent.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my recap now. All that to say is that's the first thing on my content list for this year. So okay, yeah,
Okay.
Giggly Squad. In general, Craig and Paige broke up. And I think the toughest breakups are the ones where like there's no tea. It's no Scandival situation. Like it is just two people who have grown together and then grown apart because you change and evolve as a person and you maybe just want different things.
Hmm.
And so you don't really see that though on reality TV, which is
No.
what they kind of talked about in the episode a lot. Like Hannah Berner's married. I ship her and her husband so much. I think he is literally one of the hottest people on the planet, like such a silver fox. I love him so much. And I felt the exact same way about Paige and Connor. Like such an attractive couple. I think he is such a gem of a human being. But they talked about a lot about just like, what is it going to be? What is life going to be like for someone in their 30s to be single? And Paige is kind of representing that. Um and so, yeah, I love that Paige talks about how she tries to live a life of not caring what others think, but like it's not true. And she like admitted that on the pod, just like she wants others to feel good around her. And so she was really worried of like, I want my fandom, my gigglers to know first, but I know there's going to be people listening to this episode that are not a part of it and they're coming here for the tea. And I'm going to
Mhm.
try not to care what you think, but like just know what you say is like going to be hurtful. Like I'm going through a breakup. And I just think that's like important. Like, two things can
Yeah.
be true, right? We can be confident, but like we can also care what other people think. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think it was really inspiring just to like I guess probably like the only two things to really talk about is like she talked about how, you know, you can be 32 and decide to change the rest of the course of your life. And that doesn't have to
Yeah.
change at any age. And that's really inspiring. And Hannah brought up a comment about how like literally back in like 1975 was the first year where women were able to get their own credit card.
Hmm.
Like there used to be this pressure of timelines because like as a woman you straight up needed a man to like actually survive and like move your way up in society. But today's day and age, you can be 32 and decide like I don't need a man and I'm going to make this like crazy decision. Not crazy, but crazy big scary decision. And Paige mentioned, married people with kids can go through a similar change that she's going through of like, I'm not the same person I was 3 years ago. Married people go through that with kids. And like the only thing that changes with that is like you're going through that change just with more people in your life. Yeah, like you simply just have more people around and they're no better for you than you for that. They're just going through the exact same changes as you and they have more people around and more factors to go through. So like let that be empowering that like if you are single, not married and don't have kids and you make this decision, like hey, that's less cooks in the kitchen, you know?
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
that to say, love them. I'm really excited to see what's next for Paige and Craig. I know they're probably in like a world of hurt. I just love those two so much. I think they're just good people who are famous, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so sad. I saw like a TikTok and it was literally just a girl had filmed the exact moment when her friend got the news that they broke up.
Oh man.
And I had listened to Giggly Squad a few times, but I wasn't an active listener. And so I just was like, oh my gosh, I need to get more involved. And I actually was with my friend the other day, and he was like, yeah, I listen to their podcast all the time when I go on road trips. So I feel like I need to start getting more
Yeah.
involved with them.
Good road trip one. I mean,
Yeah.
Hannah Berner, she's like such an amazing comedian. She was a part of the Netflix like 2024 roast. She's like one of the hosts of the roast.
Okay.
That just dropped. So like that'd be a good way to maybe like get some like Hannah Berner content page, just like a fashion icon. Like I really aspire and like she's on my Pinterest board and like me moving to New York now in like a several couple of months. I can't believe we're finally in the year of me moving. It's just like inspiring to like see her now single living in New York. Like I feel like she's gonna
Oh
be another
yeah.
person I really look up to. So yeah. Okay. That was
Okay.
that was the Giggly Squad recap. I
Okay.
feel like you have to go into Kylie Kelce
Okay,
next.
I'm really shocked. I feel like I do this every podcast where I'm like, I think you covered this one and you didn't. I'm really shocked you hadn't seen this.
Me
So,
too.
um, basically, there was something in the news that I saw with her that's not a part of this news, but I don't know if you saw that she's going to do, they call it Late Night with Jason Kelce.
No, I didn't see this.
So he's going to get his own show, and Kylie will get her own little corner, which apparently it's like a knock on the fact that when she's at the football games, she's like in her own space. She's not like known to be like out there and be like one
Correct.
of those housewife or football wives wags or anything like
One of the
that.
wags.
And
Yeah.
so I wanted to say, Taylor, I actually am a full on Kylie fan now.
Yeah.
I have always followed her and really liked her. I mean, honestly, ever since Taylor Swift, I was like, okay, I know who this
Totally.
woman is now. And I think her and Jason, all the stuff they do for the community and like the autism representation that they do is really just absolutely amazing. So,
Yep.
anyways, she's so funny, so blunt and to the point, and
Amazing.
her whole episode is capped at 45 minutes, which I mentioned that I read comments whenever I look at the Spotify podcast, and some people love that, some people don't like that. So I did want to bring that up.
Do they want more or less time?
They want more time. And she actually releases her extras onto YouTube. So it's
Oh,
not like a Patreon situation where it's like we're cutting it off to cut all the good stuff away. Like
yeah.
it's all on YouTube, but I kind of like that because it was like, okay, we're at 45 minutes, done. And I don't know, I kind of like that, especially because
Yeah.
like I wasn't really in the mood to listen to some podcasts this week, and so it was kind of nice to be like 45 minutes, done. I know it's done. It was nice.
Agreed.
Basically she shares her ins and her outs. She talks about like Shirley Temples are in, and she says that she doesn't do New Year's resolutions because she has Lent for that, which I thought was hilarious as former Catholic girlies. Um,
Wait, that's
she said
hilarious.
that Lent is for the short-term resolutions and like that's all she needs in life. And I mean, I was just laughing so hard because it reminded me of
God.
us. And
Yep.
she was saying how women's sports is now just a record high for like views and supporting and merch and all of the things. And how as a mom, and I know that we talked about this, like there's gonna be aspects that we don't really relate to on her pod, but she was talking about like how
Yep.
as a mom, she has two kids that are girls. They're gonna grow up with this amazing representation that hasn't been around as frequently as before.
Mhm.
And now, like, even I know, like, women's volleyball, I am really involved in now, Texas and Nebraska. My sister plays for Colgate. Like, women's sports, we're up and coming, which is amazing that we can start getting sponsorships.
Yep.
And we get women like Kylie Kelce that we know, Alana, the rugby player, or not rugby, is it rugby?
Alana, yes. Alana,
Rugby.
rugby. Yeah.
Yes, Dancing with the Stars, an absolute powerhouse, strong woman who makes you proud.
She needs a podcast if she doesn't have one. We need to
She
look into that. I
She is
want to hear more of her.
absolutely amazing. So that was kind of her ins and outs. Her outs were like silly things like cyber trucks and like the Dallas Cowboys. But
Real.
basically I wanted to get into her and Drew. Their dynamic was hilarious because Kylie was kind of saying that Drew is more precise with her responses back to the haters and like the bullies on her
True.
comment section, while Kylie is just like kind of like me where I just say like shut up when I clap back. And so Drew was kind of giving her like advice for like a vetting process of when to clap back, and like she was saying how this was like the funniest moment. I guess kind of a headline is Drew one time responded to a comment because all of her fans were tagging her on this video, and she says she gets that all the time
I
now,
bet.
but she feels like she's cleaned the streets a little bit because she said it's not as frequently as before. Like men are very scared of her. But basically she responded to a guy and was like, you look like a D3 linebacker that doesn't play. And turns out the guy played D3 football, was a linebacker, and didn't have any stats from his season. And he like went on a rampage because she was right. And she's like, I just know how to read people and I just accidentally got it right. So, I mean, it was just funny. She was teaching her how to clap back, a vetting
Mhm.
process of when to actually care and respond. They talked about tallness insecurity and like how Drew really promotes loving who you are. She was saying how like, and I know that we actually talked about this, Taylor,
Yeah.
how it feels different to be the tall one. And Drew is like, I just find it funny now. Like, I don't care that I'm the tall one. Everyone else can be insecure about their height. That's fine. But like
Not gonna
now
be
in
me.
her adulthood, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't fix it, you can't change it. And she actually says that she feels power in it now. So Kylie and Drew, if they started a podcast together, that is something that I would definitely be in love with and involved with.
Yeah.
And I actually think like for women in general, if you're into like women's sports and like women empowerment, the best podcast episode to check out.
That is, I'm so glad you brought them up because like two powerhouse of women, and like I feel like just starting off the year fresh, like there's nothing better than like a digital cleanse going into the new year and being like, who am I following? Let me do like an intake. And I feel like if you don't follow Kylie Kelce and Drew, Afualo, you just should. Like you can
Yes,
learn so much about yourself, so much about society, and just like they are fabulous follows. So what a good
absolutely.
one, Sam.
I
I'm so glad you
know.
recapped it because now I know what's in store. What a great episode. Wow, love. Okay. Um, well, on to kind of our good old resolution in 2025 pods. Let's talk about Prof G's pod with Scott Galloway. No Mercy, No Malice 2025 predictions. We got into a wide range of topics. Scott does this like every year, his predictions for the new year, and like a lot of them are true. A lot of them are about business, statistics, just like some fun stuff. And I thought like going through a couple would be just like fun for some like conversation and like a very different like segue than we've ever had on this pod before. So we're not gonna like make it too political, but like there's some political figures in the conversation. The first one was just talking about like, you know, hey, we know Trump and Elon went through a little friendship breakup like in the last couple of weeks, and he predicts Elon is going to invest in like another big name. And I thought that was very interesting. He predicts Warner Brothers. Think of like Elon as, you know, he purchased X, Twitter, now X, and he thinks because of like with the inauguration coming up, like Elon is going to need to make his way back into like the news cycle, and by purchasing another big name is the way to do it. So that's what one of the predictions was. YouTube will win the streaming award. Basically, over any other streaming service, YouTube is going to win. YouTube is the #1 podcast platform, which I thought was a fun fact for us to share.
Interesting.
Everybody's going to YouTube for their podcasts. So a plug, go listen and watch us on YouTube. We are on YouTube. The next one, tying into that, podcasting will be the media of the year. There are 3.2 million podcasts.
Wow.
Since
is that international or national?
I think that's total. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Across the globe, 3.2 million podcasts.
That's crazy.
Specifically, Scott's podcast has seen a 30% increase in revenue since the election in November. Crazy, right? So he predicts 21% growth in 2025. I do have to say the 33% or the 30% increase in revenue that happened over the holidays too, and when like media budgets are, you know, like ad budgets are like running out, so like they're really pushing more ads. So that's like a little bit of context to keep in mind. But yeah, he predicts 21% growth in 2025 across just like podcasting in general.
Okay.
I thought this one is going to be super funny and specific to you. Now, I don't like to do this, but I know I like subconsciously shame anybody who purchases from Shein. I know I do.
Oh my gosh.
It is like one of my, you know, it's like a fatal flaw of mine, thinking I am like on this pedestal because I don't buy from Shein. Meanwhile, I do purchase everything off of Amazon, and all of it probably comes from the same fucking manufacturer. But anyways, Scott predicts that Shein will IPO this year. Fun fact that Shein pushes out 7,000 new styles per day.
No comment.
That is insane. But it does, Shein, I guess, like, it's so much more of a tech company than it is like a clothing company, because their software like tracks demand on the website and then calibrates that back to the manufacturer. And they basically have 0 returns. So yeah, Scott is an investor. He like disclosed, but like, yeah, you never return your Shein stuff.
No, I just end up throwing it away.
Completely. So yeah, that was a very interesting fact. Merger and acquisitions, we know with the new administration, we're going to see a lot more companies like merging, acquiring, going public. So that's just something to keep track of. And then lastly, this is like the biggest one I wanted to talk about, because Scott Galloway talks about this a lot, of just like the epidemic of like men, like women are ascending. We have seen this last 2 years. Women are powerhouses, whether it is in, you know, I would say music, especially we've seen, you know, I guess like even with the election in general, women are ascending, but men are struggling faster than they ever have before. The ages of 20 to 24, the amount of men in that age range that are neither in school or working has tripled since the 80s. Talking about like there is a huge epidemic of just like, you know, women starting to like know their worth more, women having more purchasing power, and women always like mate up, right? Like we find a man usually and like we mate up in society. They maybe make more money. We deem them like more successful, more mature or something. And men usually like mate down. That's just like kind of like a, I don't know, you know, that's like not that crazy to think about. That's like just how it's been, right? Even with like the Giggling Squad one, right? Like it's been since like 1975 was like when we could first purchase credit cards as women. But yeah, all of this to say there's going to be fewer like, you know, mating opportunities, because like a mix of men are struggling and women are ascending, and it's just a very interesting fact. So all of that to say, I am going to with some of my New Year's resolutions I've made, I've started making like quarterly goals. So in Q1, it is definitely a goal of mine to like consume more than to create more than I consume. So I have to be really mindful of all the things I am consuming and listening to things like the Prof G podcast,
Yeah.
doing more like creative writing, all that good stuff is definitely a goal of mine. So
That
yeah,
is
I don't know. What do you think?
so fascinating, Taylor. Oh my gosh. I feel like I have so many notes in my head. I really want to listen to this podcast.
You should listen to this
You've
podcast.
considered me influence. I've never heard of this
Yeah.
podcast before.
So I hear about it often from my girl Tinks, of course.
Yeah.
She's always talking about like Scott, and especially because her demographic of what she talks about on her podcast is a lot of like women ascending, men,
Yeah.
us not settling, and a
Yeah.
lot of like her facts she gets is from Scott. But yeah, what I love about this podcast is it's very tangible. The episodes aren't that long. He has wonderful guests, but he
Yeah.
spits out the facts. Like he cites his
Absolutely.
sources. It's a really good one. You should for sure listen.
I feel like that's really interesting because I've noticed a shift in Hollywood. Like, let's say Kim Kardashian. I know that there was a scandal with Kanye where she had to pay his debts. Like, I just think it's really interesting that like we're shifting towards women having more power,
Yeah.
which obviously we love. But like I'm thinking about like the Olympics. All the people that I followed were women. Simone Biles, Alana, all of these big figures that were coming out. The only like man I followed from the Olympics was the Muffin Man. Did you hear about him?
Wait, I'm thinking of who's the one from Dancing with the Stars with the glasses? Do you know who I'm talking about? He was an Olympian.
Oh, yes, that's not him. No.
Okay,
The
different
Muffin
one.
Man was there was lore that there was this guy that he was a Danish guy, I believe, and he would go and get like 4 chocolate chip muffins because apparently they were like absolutely amazing, and so they started calling him like the Muffin Man until he came out and was like, "Yeah, I'm the Muffin
That's
Man."
me.
But I think that's really interesting that like we're seeing that shift, and it's absolutely amazing. And
Um,
I would say myself, like celebrities and things like that, I really only follow women.
I think that's
And
just about like us like having put in some work too, Sam, on like decentralizing men, like a good amount. But it is kind of scary to think about like, hey, can't women be ascending while men also ascend? Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
it's very interesting. It's an interesting shift and one that kind of adds up. Like, if you want more detail on it, definitely go listen to his podcast because he like dives into a lot of the why, a lot of the election, a lot of what the news and media is pushing of like why there's this shift. But yeah, I know it's been like the last 2 years and probably this next year is like for the girls for
Yeah,
sure. For me.
absolutely. Like I just saw Zuckerberg's ex-wife, she like has donated over billions of dollars to charities.
Zuck has an ex-wife.
Oh my gosh, you need to go into this lore.
I'm sorry, Zuckerberg ex-wife.
Wait, Zuckerberg? Oh no, not Facebook. Amazon. What's his name?
Oh, Bezos, of
Bezos.
course. Oh, did
Mackenzie.
you see the rumors that he got married in Aspen?
Oh God.
It was like a $600 million wedding. I think this was debunked.
Well, all I know is that his ex-wife has donated billions of dollars to charities, and she's like one of those people that everyone's like, honestly, defend her because she's like the only like billionaire that's actually trying to help and give
for sure.
back. But I do think this is a good segue into my date yourself instead one.
Yes.
I was recommended this on Spotify. It came up and I thought it was a really cute thing. Just the idea of dating yourself. I know you and I both focused on that this last year. That was kind of both of our resolutions. And I am gonna, do you think it'd be easier if I just go and name all 10 first and then we can talk about the ones that we like?
Yeah. Oh, I
Okay.
love that idea.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go through the list of 10. I wrote notes on most of them because some of them it was just like self-explanatory.
Totally.
So number 1, it's romanticize your life. Number 2, slow down the process to committing to people. Number 3, leveling up your inner circle. 4, manifest but with confidence. 5, invest in your childhood hobbies. 6, make your life fun. 7, organize your finances. 8, secure your financial freedom. 9, detox your mind, body, and soul. And 10, celebrate yourself with complimenting yourself more.
Oh, that's cute. Okay, I have
Yeah.
three that stood out to me,
Okay.
but those are just like personal. Definitely the leveling up your inner circle, the childhood hobbies, and then make life fun. Those are like so top of mind for me and like
Okay,
some of my
perfect.
New Year's goals. But
Perfect.
I want to hear yours. Like what ones stood out to you?
So I'm gonna go out of order because
Okay.
that's just
Totally.
what I'm deciding on. The childhood hobbies one stood out to me the most. I don't think I've ever been told that as an adult. I've been told to embrace my inner child, but not to go do your hobbies. And so like she was talking about like maybe like remember back in the day when you would beg your mom to bake cookies, bake cake, all of those kind of things. Like that
Yep.
was such a fun, easy hobby you could do. Well, I definitely want to recommit to finding passion in cooking and
Mm.
also committing to actually reading more. I remember as a kid, I like would sneak a flashlight in my room and I would get in trouble for reading, not being on my phone. Like I just
So
loved
cute.
reading. And so I'm like, that would make me go back to my childhood roots is like to actually find passion in this and not just be like, I have to reach my Goodreads goal. I have to like read X,
Yeah.
Y. And like, and Goodreads is an amazing motivation, but like, I want to actually read a book because I like it, not just to put on Goodreads. I read one of 35 or whatever my goal is.
Oh my God, that's so true, Sam. Like, why am I like, maybe I shouldn't set like a reading goal this year for that reason? Like, just read to enjoy reading. I
That's what
need that reminder.
I'm thinking about too because I don't know, I've seen so many people be like, "Oh, it's December and I haven't read all my books. I'm gonna just go and read 10." And it's like that's like one of those things where it's like a mindless activity if you make it a mindless activity. I feel
Yeah.
like reading you should be in enjoying it and finding your passion. So
Yeah.
that was one that I really like. I'm like, I'm gonna start doing that for my childhood hobbies and maybe
Yep.
invest more in just figuring out maybe what I missed out on as a kid that I can try as an adult. I don't
That's
know.
what they say is like, if you, I get this from Lauren Bostick, the Skinny Confidential. She talks about how, like, as a child, she loved to like scrapbook. And so it makes
Oh,
sense that her career, then she became like one of the first like OG bloggers and is now like a content creator. She was like, so sit with your childhood hobbies and can you make a side hustle or career out of it? Um, Not that we should always like be monetizing every freaking hobby, be kind, but like there's something to it. Like it's a very interesting topic. So love that.
yeah.
Very fun.
It's okay. So, what did you want to talk about? Leveling up your inner circle? I know that we've talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, that just stuck out to me because it's like one of one thing I really want to do this year is like my personal brand. Like I've always felt like I do just kind of have like a personal brand. Like I feel like so often my friends or I because I love posting on social media and I always have. Before I even started kind of my like TikTok journey or us creating like a podcast together, like friends of mine I feel like would always point out something like either like, oh, that looks like something Taylor would say or buy or consume or do. Like I feel like I do have just like a pretty strong personal identity and brand, and I
Yeah.
want that to like happen in more areas of my life. And like with me moving and with me thinking about like my network and even like my job, like thinking of like what kind of like career path do I want this year, like my inner circle, and just it's not just my inner circle, but every circle of mine. I want to
Yeah.
be very intentional and make sure I'm branding myself and being, I guess all that to say is like, I want to be really true to myself in every single circle I'm a part of and be way more intentional about it. Cause I find like I do have some just kind of like mutual acquaintances or like, you know, the medium tier friends where it's like, I don't know. I sense a big shift happening for this year. And I want to like make sure people come into this next phase of life of mine that are like intentional and should be in my circle. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, I something that resonated with me for the podcast is the term floater, which I would
Mm,
say I have in my 20s have transitioned to that from being a sorority woman, having like hundreds of friends that I could
yep.
pick from. Like a floater is basically someone that has friends of all walks of lives
Yeah.
and they don't resonate with just one friend group. That doesn't mean that you're not close with everyone. It just means that instead of being stuck in that one circle,
Yep.
you're really actively looking for more friends and new friendships that are people that will inspire you, motivate you. It's like all the simple stuff that we've always heard, but like
Yeah.
having the boundaries to be able to commit to yourself, commit to the people that really commit to you, but also being open to change and people that could positively change your life. Like I've
Yeah.
definitely have people that have come into my life and I just wasn't ready at the moment or expecting it, and ended up being really close with these people. No clue, wasn't in any group or anything like that. And like
Yeah.
that's what just being a floater is. And I actually really liked that quote and like what that means. And I don't think that's a bad thing to not be stuck to one group, but I
Yeah.
also don't think it's a bad thing like to float and all the things that come with that. So I thought that
I
was
think
interesting.
it is interesting. I guess what I'm thinking right now, and this is just like a thought, like I am not tied to this and I'm like allowed to change. Okay. So like if I say this and I change my mind later, like nobody hold me to that. But what I'm thinking right now, I think like the more maybe the older and more mature you get, it's not that floating is a bad thing, but I personally think it's not a good thing for me. I want to float less, and I feel like the last couple of years, like I don't floating is not really a thing for me. And I think a good like test for that is, can you invite every single one of your different friendship circles together for a shared event, like your birthday?
Mhm.
And do you
Yeah.
have any hesitation about this person meeting this other person? Or are you like, I can't wait for all my people to be in one room together? And I think right now I can confidently say there is not a single person in my close circle that I don't love when we all get together and can mingle and like cross. There's maybe a couple, and that just proves like maybe I do have still some floating around. But I think that's a good test, is like I want to strive for that level in my life where it's like I'm inviting everybody in all walks of life of my inner circle to be together, and I like love it and I'm not nervous about it. So,
Yeah. No, I actually think that's exactly what floating is, Taylor.
okay. Long
That's
story short.
I love you so much, but I think that's exactly what floating
To me,
is.
okay, in my mind, when I hear floating, it means like you're not like that close. You just float from different
Oh,
friend groups and
no,
then you
no,
like
no.
leave
No, no,
one
no.
friend group behind. Okay, I'm
No,
mistaken, my bad.
no, that's not what she meant. I think, well, at least that's not what I interpreted. I just interpreted like
Yeah.
in a sense that like I would say my bachelorette party.
Yes.
All of
Perfect
these group
example.
like that's what I mean by floater is like I have friends from childhood, high school, college, post grad, even post like post grad, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like young 20s, mid 20s. So like
Yep.
I would that's what I would classify as a floater, but
Mm,
maybe you have a different like I think floaters can be two different definitions or multiple. Like I see
yes.
what you're saying in a sense that like you're not really close with a group, but you're just floating between and
Yep.
like you're somewhat invited. That's not what I mean. I just mean like
Right.
I think that I would continue to like accept new friends, accept abundance. That was one of the things that we were talking about in the previous podcast is like you don't just say that you want money, you say that you want abundance. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that she brought up too actually was to reprogram your new identity to abundance. That is your new identity.
Mm. Wow. What a great. Okay, I love this. Okay, outside of me having like just a completely different definition of floating, I think it makes sense. And I love that you're like open to that. Like you're in
Yeah.
your mid 20s, I'm like now in my upper 20s, and like still being open to new connections in every age and phase of life. I think is like a wonderful thing.
Oh yeah. No, so
Ooh.
yes. Let's see. I know that we
Yeah.
said that we both agree on making
Make
life
life
fun.
fun. Yeah,
Yes.
what were your notes on that one?
So she mentioned the fact that humans go through lows and highs and
Mhm.
that we can set our mind on having fun, but we also need to be able to set our life up to accept that fun. So it goes back to like rewiring your brain to attract fun. And like, I think
Mm.
that you mentioned this in the last podcast, making the simple things fun. Like trying a new coffee recipe in the morning. Maybe you're making coffee. Like that's attracting fun into your life.
Yep.
Instead of going home after work, you're going to the gym. That's attracting fun. And then it just starts like piling up when you rewire your mind
Mm.
and you start attracting more things. Maybe you're social media for you page is going to be more fun. And I know, like, I saw a TikTok that made me laugh so hard, and it was like so depressed that I turned off my depression playlist. And I like forget when you get in that mindset, like when you're sad, you want to listen to sad music, but
Yeah.
it's important to like acknowledge your sadness, but also rewire your brain to accept a change to the sadness. So like, even for me, if I put on a more fun song, I might not accept it or want it in the moment,
Mhm.
but it would kind of change it has changed my mindset where I'm like, I'm done being sad.
Yep.
I'm going to put a fun song on. I'm going to change my mindset. And so that was kind of what she was saying, like making vision boards, make your routines, have your mindset and rewire your brain to accept the abundance of fun. So what do you think about that?
I love it. It's like amazing. Everything your notes from the pod and like what you're saying is like it really comes down to like I learned this in skiing. So it's like nothing is ever that big of a move. It really is just a mindset shift. Like my ski instructor is just like if you're working too hard, like you're not doing it right. Like it should be easy. It should be easy. It's just like it's a small movement and that's all you need to turn. It's just like a small movement.
Yeah.
And everything you're saying is like literally just mindset shifts can literally change your life. It's like you can continue doing the same things. It doesn't have to be like I'm worried to like up level my life or make this big change in my life because a big change sounds exhausting. Literally just shifting your mindset can like be a game changer.
Oh
It's
yeah.
kind of crazy.
Oh yeah. It was a really good podcast. I remember I looked at the tips before and I was like, I've seen all these tips before in my life.
See all the
Like,
tips, but the different ways to like practice it can resonate
yes.
with different people. So like
Oh yeah.
always consuming this type of stuff is good because like a different podcast, a different voice, a different like,
Yeah.
person saying it is going to have like a different idea or different examples. So
Oh yeah. No, it was
very
a really great
cool.
podcast and it was just kind of enlightening about like it's a good reminder to celebrate yourself,
Yeah.
compliment yourself,
Hmm.
change your mindset, and I don't know, don't follow the pack anymore. She was really saying that you are in control of your life and we forget that a lot because of external things,
Yeah.
and that you're your own superstar. And I just thought it was funny because I get in that mindset where I'm like, I don't care, I'm a superstar, I can do whatever I want, and then I'm like, oh, my life is so hard. And so I think it's funny and it's like a good reminder to have someone outwardly just say happiness is like in the small things
Yeah.
and that you're your own star. Everyone has their own life, but in your story, you're the star. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel like crazy motivated for
I
like the rest
know.
of the day. It is a Sunday. We always put our podcast out on like a Monday, which is like a fun start to the week. So this has been like, wow, I feel like I'm gonna close out like the week and start the new week in just like a whole new fun mindset.
We
Wow,
both
I
have
love
podcasts we
it.
have to listen to now. I
We
loved your podcast
do.
this
We
week.
do. I'm gonna go on a hawker walk and I gotta turn on some Kylie Kelce. That's for damn sure.
I love it.
Love her, love her. And I keep seeing people on social media talking about her podcast. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the charts. God. Okay, I'm really excited for her and Jason's like new talk show. That
Oh,
like
it's
I
gonna be
gotta look
so
into
funny.
that. It's
Yeah.
gonna be iconic.
I haven't seen much other than ads, so I can't speak too much on it, but the ad
Yeah.
looks really cute and really fun. So, and
Love
Kylie just,
it.
I really hope that she continues on this path because she is so blunt and to the point and just
It's beautiful.
not caring that it's like refreshing to see that in Hollywood or
It's so refreshing to
celebrity
have
news.
someone who cares to a certain point because like they're obviously like a charitable, caring person, but like in terms of haters, like literally pays no mind or pays mind, but in like such a blunt, like badass way. God, I love her. She's just different than anybody else I follow. And yeah, it's super refreshing. Just like a real person, like not there's no fake bone in her body, and I freaking love it. So yeah. Okay. Well, anything else you want to share or recap before we wrap up?
No, all
Okay.
of that to say, we had some good podcasts this week, and I am probably a little stuck for next week's episode. So, to our viewers, if you see anything, please comment this on our
Yes.
TikTok page.
For real. Let us know any, like, based on the pods you hear us talking about, if you have recommendations of other pods you think we would like, for sure, let us know. I mean, I saw there was like some podcasting news, like Khloe Kardashian's podcast is coming out. From Sex in the City, Miranda and Charlotte, they've got
Yes,
a
I saw that.
podcast. That's exciting.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. Well,
All
thanks for
right.
listening, guys. Bye.
Bye.